Hey there, Drew here, and welcome back to the Drew Saur coaching channel. If this is your first time here, thanks for joining us. This channel is for those of us who want to have stellar careers with a little less stress and, if we can, a bit more fun. My job is to bring you ideas that will help you look at your career in a new way. I promise that if you try them out, you'll start to see the professional world differently. And more importantly, they'll start to see you differently. So this video is part of my series on persuasive storytelling. Because to get anything done in our careers, we need other people. So the question we're trying to answer here is, can I convince others to join me? But what I want to talk about today is this concept of personas. How do you get other people to join you when they have different styles, when they have different interactions? How can you actually use your own personas to make sure that you are engaging them in the best way possible? Now, some of you may be familiar with user personas, but basically they just describe a person. It's very typical in software development where you say, okay, who are my users? And you create a persona. Okay, this individual is, married with 2 kids, making a certain amount of money, living in this kind of neighborhood. You would create a single persona to represent one of your users. And what I want to talk about today is this idea of that is helpful for software development, but one persona simply isn't true. All of us have multiple personas. So when you think of yourself, right, the persona you use with your boss, how you talk to your boss, would be very different than how you might talk to your children, if you have them, or your parents or your siblings, right? You have a family persona, which is very different oftentimes than, your professional persona. And what I want to suggest to you is that since we all have a number of personas, you want to think of that as a tool for how you engage with other executives, right? And so what I want to talk to you about today is sort of 3 examples of personas that you should have in your toolkit. And so most of us have a specific way that we operate in the work world, right? We have our default persona, and you probably know what that is. Some of us are, extroverts, very outgoing, talking to people, talking about life and family. Other people are introverts, which is a little more like me, right? Where you kind of stick to business a little more, you're very focused, you like the data, right? There is a default persona. But what I'm suggesting to you is you want to build out other personas so you have them when you need them. So again, today I'm just going to give you 3 examples, but ultimately you want to have, say, a dozen of these that you can use at any time. So I'd say the 3 most important ones are the salesperson, the crisis manager, and then sort of the servant leader, right? And so the salesperson, just to kind of go through them one by one. So the salesperson is that persona that you use to sell ideas, to build relationships. Right? It is an extroverted persona. So even if you're introverted, you can have an extroverted persona. So it's something where you are comfortable walking up to new people, getting to know them, asking questions, and then selling the value of what you're offering. Now, if you're going for a job, that means selling yourself. If you're trying to get a project approved, that means selling the value of the project. But the idea is you need to have a persona with sort of that glad-handing, big smile, very personable, someone who can engage with others. That is a style that you're going to need at some point in your career. So that would be a salesman one. The second one I think is really important is the crisis manager, right? So this is when something is going wrong, can you take charge and get it fixed, right? And this is another classic executive persona that you need to have. So, okay, something crashed, production system is down, clients are calling. Okay, what do? Everybody turns and looks to you. So what is that persona, right? That persona needs to be very decisive and very concrete and make steps going forward and sort of inspire confidence in people, right? So what you need to do is not waffle and not be like, oh, I don't know what to do. You have to decide what you think is the best thing in the moment. And you have to give people a sense of structure. You have to give people a sense of trust that somebody's in charge and somebody knows what they're doing, and that person is you. Right. So again, very different than sort of the happy sort of salesperson one is the, okay, now it's business. Now we got to fix this. This is what we need to do. This is who we need to call. That is sort of the crisis manager one. And a third one, just to kind of explain the differences here, I would call the servant leader. Right. So this is somebody that you would sort of persona that you would put on when you want to deal with your team. Right. So this is a listening persona. This is an understanding, a trust building, a how can I help you persona that you would oftentimes use with your team, right? So when you want to kind of build relationships, when you want to build partnerships, when you really want to understand what motivates another person and how you can help them achieve what their goals are, right? Very useful persona, right? And as you can imagine, there are dozens, hundreds, if not millions of different personas you can adopt. right? And the reason I bring this up is because I want you to start to think about when you interact with certain people, watch what you do. Watch the interaction style that you are using, because you are using a persona even if you don't think of it that way. And what you want to do eventually is to say, okay, I'm going to do this with this executive or this peer or my team. What persona should I be adopting to help them understand what I'm trying to achieve and convince them to join me in getting it done? Right? So again, think about in your toolkit, you want to have as many personas as you need to deal with the different types of people across your work life. This also works in your personal life, but obviously this channel is all about career success, and so we're putting in the context of that. So what happens if you don't do this? Well, you're kind of guessing. Either you use one persona all the time, right? And that persona simply will not work with everybody, right? There is no magic persona that will engage at a high level with every different type of personality, because there are so many different types of people out there that having only one persona means that there is a whole set of people that you just won't engage with particularly effectively. Or you're kind of using them, but you're kind of guessing, right? You don't really think of them as personas. You just kind of alter your style and you hope it's good enough, as opposed to thinking about it as a tool that you're going to try and actually use a persona with somebody, see how it goes, and then you're going to figure out, is that the right persona? And if it's not, go try a different persona, try a different style. And you can try that different style every different time you meet with somebody and get a different reaction until you find the one that works best for them. So what's the exercise? The exercise is figure out what personas you have, right? You already have a couple that you're very comfortable with, and then create one or two more that you might be less comfortable with and try them out, right? Don't be afraid to try out a different persona and see how it works. Because ultimately your goal, as I said earlier, is to build a toolkit of personas that you have whatever you need to deal with whoever you need to deal with to get your goals accomplished. So try it out. Let me know in the comments how it goes. And as always, growing your career is a journey, and it helps to have a partner. You can rope in a friend, you can hire a coach. If you have any interest in working with me, feel free to go to drewsaur.com. We can schedule some time to chat. I look forward to seeing you next time.